Marshall dominates the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns 31-3. They're the 2024 Sunbelt champions. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, we will get to Huff going to USM, Gibson taking over for him from NC State. We'll do probably more of that later. We'll just get into the whole coaching search thing, which was wild. And then South Carolina's DC, Dowell Loggains, coming over to App State to take over. And we do have a little bit of information to pass on for that. But Marshall dominates the Cajuns 31-3. This game was over early in the second quarter when Cajuns backup quarterback Chandler Fields went down with an arm injury. His fiancée passed along on Twitter on Sunday that he was out of surgery. So he is on the way to recovery. But I thought about that actually a couple times. I didn't mention it. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want to put it into existence or something, speak it into existence. But that's the thing, as much as we talked about Chandler Fields playing well against South Alabama, coming up short, playing really well against Troy, and doing what they needed to do against ULM, he was the backup quarterback. If he gets hurt, this is where you are. And I don't think they lost because of that, but it certainly ended any chance that the Cajuns had. All right. I'll get out in front of this. I will say that I think Marshall felt like they rallied around Charles Huff. They rallied around the noise, kind of. If Marshall doesn't want him, we're going to play for him because he's leading us, and we'll let him do what he wants, and then we'll do what we want. And it just felt like that way. We'll get into more of that later. Braylon Braxton was outstanding, 193 yards, a couple touchdowns. Jordan Houston, 117 yards and a touchdown. The defense was outstanding, and the Cajuns couldn't do anything. Their longest run of the game was Chandler Fields' 10-yard run when he got hurt. It was a ball game. It was 7-3, right? And Marshall ended up making a field goal, and then Fields got hurt. And this is where I would sort of disagree with what Mike Desimo did. I'm not sure I'm putting in my true freshman quarterback on 4th and 2. Hey, Daniel, you haven't really played football in about a year. Our season is on the line. Why don't you come in here and have this play on 4th and 2? I got a Lou Groza kicker, at least nominee. He should be the award winner for the best kicker in the nation out here. I should try a 47, 48-yarder, whatever it is, and have him do it, make it a 10-6 ball game. Let Beal warm up a little bit in real time, not game time, but real time. I got 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, and we can go over the 5 or 10 plays that we're going to run. Instead, we're going forward on 4th down, and the game ended. They stopped them, and Marshall put up a touchdown after that, I believe, and it was 17-3, and that was basically your ball game. Cajuns could not run the football. That reared their ugly head. Even Kevin Foote mentioned it. Until the second half against ULM, they didn't run it very well. They had issues running it against Troy. They had issues running it against South Alabama. They're banged up on the front line. Draylon Washington was banged up. Players got more banged up in the game along with Robert Williams. Marshall, again, just seemed to be, playing really well over the last – and they went on the road. That's a 3-game winning streak on the road, going to ODU, going to JMU, and going to the Cajuns. That's not easy. I mean, Marshall should be really congratulated on all of that and kind of beating, 3 different offenses, right? And 3 different quarterbacks, from Colton Joseph to Alonzo Barnett III to Chandler Fields and then Daniel Beal. And they really should be congratulated. Having said that, the Cajuns missed out on a couple of opportunities. Cajun fans are going to tell you, as Cajun fans always do, that, penalties didn't really go their way early on. A couple of personal foul calls that I didn't necessarily agree with. blindside block, didn't realize that would be a blindside block if someone is going in to make the tackle and you block him from that side. It used to be a clip. Maybe that's what it should have been. Hands to the face by Bayless. I didn't really think that was it. And a little bit of a hold on that 4th and 2. They got Terrence Carter, but maybe it was near the line of scrimmage, so you can kind of grab him a little bit. But, that's a good play by the Marshall player to, that much of a delay in Terrence Carter releasing from the line of scrimmage, blows up the play a little bit. But the Cajuns had chances to make plays in the game. They had a pass defended and, did not make the interception. Would have been a heck of a play, but didn't make the catch. Beginning of the second half, it's 17-3. Braxton, for some odd reason, just throws it up for grabs and it falls innocently. It wasn't really, an easy play. It was a scrum. It was, 2 or 3 players from each team, but it seemed to be more Cajuns than Herd. And, the Cajuns couldn't make a play. You make that interception and all of a sudden it's 1st and 10 on the Marshall 40. Who knows what happens? I'll give you another example. All right. This was the beginning of the second half. I think each team punted once. Yeah. Marshall went 3 and out. That was the dropped, the Braxton just throwed it up for grabs. Cajuns go 3 and out. This is 3rd and 6 from the Marshall 47. All right. And Braylon Braxton is in shotgun, but the time he gets the snap and backs up, he's on his own 40-yard line. All right. He ends up on the Cajuns 47. He ran 13 yards. Now he only gains 5 because the line of scrimmage was the 48, but the Cajuns got pressure on him. He ran through that. He ran to the line of scrimmage, still bouncing backwards and still able to go forwards and powers his way to where he gained 5 yards and they're 1 yard short of the line to gain. And they went for it on 4th down and they gained it. And they got the 1st down. Then they went and got a touchdown. I think Cajuns fans think that may have been OPI, but nonetheless. And that's when Keon Martin got the frustration 15-yard penalty for pushing after the play. That was a 15-yard penalty. Can't do anything about that one. But that's the kind of play that Braxton and Marshall was making, and the Cajuns were not. Earlier in the ball game, it may have been the first touchdown. Cajuns had pressure in Braxton's face, and for the most part, he did rush for 66 yards. But for a lot of the game, they had him bottled up. A lot of his QB runs, they had him tackled. It was when he dropped back and scrambled that they couldn't do it. And the 4-man rush got to him, but he was able to get away. And so Marshall was making the plays, and the Cajuns were not. And that's basically it. And that's what happens when it's 31-3. And again, when you're down to your 3rd string quarterback, it's going to be tough sledding. Marshall is going to play, I guess, Army in the Independence Bowl. All right. And we'll see what's left of Marshall. Apparently the quarterback isn't going to be there. Neither is the coach. And for the Cajuns, maybe get Ben Wooldridge back. Obviously Chandler Field's going under surgery. He won't be back. We'll see if Ben Wooldridge is back. Time frame was 4 to 6 weeks for the collarbone, and he was hurt in the South Alabama game, so that's close to it. And or else it'll be Daniel Beal, I guess, and we'll see if he's ready to go. It's New Mexico. I didn't think, they're playing TCU. That's, you're playing a big time team. So, they were in the national championship game a couple years ago. That's not bad. We'll see. I'm not sure too many people are going to go. And again, we'll do an episode somewhere along the way. Not going to please the people in Louisiana too much, but they announced 20,000. Maybe some people didn't show up. It was a bad day. And if it was raining during the game, I absolutely would not say anything. But why you can't sell out 24,000 tickets, on Monday or Tuesday is ridiculous. When the other places, JMU would sell out a Sun Belt championship game. Marshall would probably sell out a Sun Belt championship game. Georgia Southern would sell out a Sun Belt championship game. App State would sell out a Sun Belt championship game. The Cajuns don't. I don't know. That's twice. That's twice they've had it, and twice they aren't. They're not able to sell out. And this one is half a stadium. It is what it is. It is what it is. All right, let's take a timeout. Again, I do want to say I do think that the Marshall players did rally around Charles Huff. They're not idiots. They're not. Their heads are not in the sands. I know they're blocking out the noise. Well, and they got, maybe their finals are coming up. They're starting for finals, starting for the Sun Belt championship game. I don't know the semester schedule for Marshall, but obviously you're talking to your parents, you're talking to your friends. They know he's going. This was already, we're talking almost 2 weeks ago when this fell into my lap. And so if I knew about it, they knew about it. And it just kind of felt like they rallied around him and they sent him off as a Sun Belt champion. And it's going to be amazing. It really is going to be amazing if Southern Miss wins a Sun Belt championship before Marshall wins another one. It's going to be amazing if that. Obviously, he's got work to do at Southern Miss with the transfer portal. It can turn things around fast. We shall see. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk about that amazing coaching search that went on over the last few weeks. We'll do that right after this. And I tell you about Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide for limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com, OMAHA steaks.com, and an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, let's get to the news that came down on a Sunday. Thought it would be faster. I'm recording the instant-ish recap Sunday morning, looking to see if, Pete Thamel had tweeted out. I guess Chris Vanini had, and Chris works for The Athletic, saying what was going to happen, saying that Charles Huff was going to Southern Miss and Tony Gibson was taking over at Marshall. Gibson was the defensive coordinator at NC State. And it's just a fascinating thing. Again, this is not a coaching search such as last year at South Alabama, where Kane Womack kind of out of nowhere, but even if that comes out of nowhere, he's telling the AD what's going on, and he takes the defensive coordinator position with Alabama, and then a couple of days go by, and South Alabama hires Major Applewhite. All right, that's different. That's, promoting from within the program. Also, Major Applewhite has been a college head football coach. This whole thing, and I will say, I have put it out there. I probably need to call Marshall. So far, that's the only one I haven't requested yet. I've requested Charles Huff at Southern Miss. I've requested Dowell Loggains at App State, and we'll do the same for Gibson. I've heard back from both Southern Miss and App State. We'll see that process playing out. There's no way Charles Huff is going to tell me what happened behind the scenes. Someone will write the story. Someone, he'll sit down with somebody and they'll write the story. If he was still on the job, it may have been Luke Creasy, but Luke's got a new gig starting today. Good luck, Luke. But I want to know how they handle it, how he handled it with his family. That decision, if there, how did that decision go with your wife when there was no extension forthcoming, or you turned down I don't even know I don't even care which one it was, but there was a decision that you were going to play out the year without a contract. That is unheard of in college sports. Quarterbacks rarely do that now, and they get a lot more money, right? I mean, those guys make millions and millions of dollars, but they don't want to risk it in case they get seriously injured because of how much money they are risking. And in this case, I mean, think what they were going into the season with. He didn't even know who starting quarterback was. He had Stone Earl there, and Braxton ends up taking the job, blowing a huge lead at Georgia Southern, and finishes up on a 7-game winning streak. Who saw that one coming? And the running back, A.J. Turner, who basically averages like 8 yards a carry, didn't play. And so Huff is going to Southern Miss. The rumors are out there for the better part of 2 weeks. And the best part was we didn't really hear it all from Southern Miss. Southern Miss was very quiet for this whole thing, right? Because App State was moving forward. I wasn't being told who. I was told they were moving forward, and it was speeding up and then slowing down and then sped up again. And they actually beat Southern Miss to the punch, but that was only because Southern Miss was waiting for Charles Huff. All right. It kind of felt like because it was Super Talk Mississippi, right? Those guys are the ones who put it out there last week, right? That it was kind of confirmed that he was going. That kind of felt like it was coming straight from the Marshall Athletic Department that they knew. That's where it felt like, or maybe it comes. Yeah, no, I felt like it was the Southern, the Marshall Athletic Department. And so, the divorce was happening, right? They're just waiting for the signatures, But overall, it kind of felt like everyone handled this rather professionally, right? Charles Huff seemed to handle it professionally. Southern Miss handled it professionally. Other than Marshall kind of confirming that it was happening, it seemed to be handled rather well. Anytime you hear, well, if there's noise, that's good, right? And then everyone kept on saying, well, we're focused on the game, we're focused on this, right? It just felt like, was there a memo passed around that we're just going to say, this is coach speak for what we're being focused on? No. And here's the interesting part. I don't know if people know this. I have no idea if it's true, but it was on the internet, so I love it. Apparently, Coach Gibson was on campus last week. That's like he's there. Like Charles Huff is preparing for a bowl game, and Tony Gibson is measuring curtains for the office. This is mind blowing. It really is. I have not looked into Gibson yet. We'll see. Obviously, coming from NC State, Power 4 conference, wanted to be a head coach. Okay, Loggains is a different cat, and we're going to get into that here. But I'm thrilled. I will say this. I didn't have him on this year. He's come on a couple of times in the past. Certainly always get big hugs, if you will, big embraces when we see each other at Sunbelt Media Days. I love his smile. He was dancing after the championship last night on the sideline, so that's great. I think he brings great energy, great charisma. I am thrilled that Charles Huff is staying in the Sunbelt. All right. I'm thrilled for that. I think that's great. I think that is good news for the Sun Belt. All right. And we'll hopefully have him on to discuss Southern Miss. All right. What interested him in this job? And so many things have changed since he took the Marshall job. And now, just 4 years later, going to take the Southern Miss job. College football has turned on its head. It is completely different. And so how do you go about doing what you need to do to prepare to go, move your family, you got to start recruiting, you got to get a coaching staff. I'd ask him who his starting quarterback is, but I think I already know that answer. So that's the news for that. And we will see how that goes. I do need to put in a request for Tony Gibson with Marshall. We'll see which of the coaches want to come on Locked On Sunbelt. All right. I do want to talk about the next coach because I'll be straight up with you. I didn't know anything about Dowell Loggains. Don't know anything about him. Had to look him up. But it is interesting that he went in this direction because we're seeing a lot of guys go in the other direction. All right. We will talk about that after I tell you about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, you live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. And by the way, we're over 1,700 subscribers. Amazing. Thank you so much. Again, we needed that Marshall coaching search to take a little bit longer is what we needed. So we have 3 new head coaches in the Sunbelt, 3 teams with new head coaches in the Sunbelt. So I'm interested in this one because I didn't know who it was. I didn't hear his name until it was put out there about an hour beforehand, and I'm kind of working. I'm not supposed to be on my phone, where I do work on a regular basis. But, you're walking around, you can get away with it a little bit. But Dowell Loggains was the offensive coordinator, and obviously South Carolina with their quarterback was playing really well, had a great season. Our guy Chris Marler thinks from Locked On Gamecocks that thinks that South Carolina is the best team in the SEC. All right. Here's the thing, you got to separate the offense from the quarterback, because how do you replace the quarterback? Right. We have seen that issue before. But Dowell Loggains, if you don't know that, he's a pro guy. This guy has mostly pro experience from the beginning. Scouting assistant with the Cowboys, Titans coaching administrative assistant with the Titans, quality control with the Titans, passing game coordinator and QBs with the Titans. So he was with the Titans 2006 through 2012, and then he became the offensive coordinator in 2013. Then he went to Cleveland in 2014, QB coach. Then he was the Bears offensive coordinator in 2015, 2016, 2017. And then the Dolphins offensive coordinator in 2018, Jets offensive coordinator in 2019 and 20. Then he ended up in college, went to Sam Pittman in Arkansas, where he was doing the tight ends, 21 and 22. And then South Carolina offensive coordinator the last couple of years. So interestingly, again, another guy, a ton of coaching experience, no head coaching experience. None. So we'll see what that means. Jeff Lebby didn't have any coaching experience either, and he struggled. We have seen others do well, right? Charles Huff, I don't believe had any head coaching experience either, and he's just gone to 4 straight bowl games. So he did pretty well himself at Marshall. But you're seeing usually the other way around. You're seeing guys go to the pros, or you're seeing guys go from, G5 schools to Power 4 schools and taking lesser roles, maybe for more money, because that's what they pay, because of all the NIL and all of the portal stuff. They just don't want to deal with it. They just want to recruit and coach their position. I can tell you the one thing I was told was Loggains wasn't interviewing for a job. He was interviewing for this job. The other guys interviewing they had other opportunities. All right. And it's not that they didn't want App State, but they had multiple chances. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. But I was told he was interviewing for that job. He wanted the App State job. And I find that interesting. That's a good way of going about it, right? I'm looking for this job, and he knows about the history. He's looking forward to the high expectations. And again, we talk about this all the time, right? I mean, App State expects to win championships. JMU expects to win championships. Georgia Southern expects to win championships. Now Marshall expects to win championships. Did I say Georgia Southern? I mean, they all expect to win championships. Georgia State is out recruiting their backsides off. They expect to contend next year. And so it's not going to be easy. So expectations are high and maybe to the point of impossible in the Sun Belt East, because everybody expects to win all the time every year, and that's just not possible, right? And so we'll see. All right, it's going to start off with the quarterback. We'll see what Loggains can do with the quarterback. It starts there. They got to replace Joey Aguilar. And see if they can, get the community behind them. They certainly pack it in. They had an awful year. They had a losing record. I think they beat JMU. They beat JMU that day with the snow, bad weather, and they had a full house because football matters in Boone, North Carolina. It does. It matters. They had and maybe still do have a championship culture there, right? Whereas the Cajuns had built one, as we're back to that again. And here's the thing. I'm gonna go off tangent here. Here's the thing. And I learned this interestingly because of where I'm from, Syracuse, New York. Syracuse used to draw on a regular basis 40 to 45,000, and the big games would be more than that, almost a sellout, and the crappy games would be 35. Well, the industry that was in Syracuse moved out. We'll say Carrier, right? We used to be a big plant there, and some other good paying blue collar jobs all moved out. And so those families who were in the upper deck of the Syracuse Carrier Dome moved out with them, and they just were never replaced. Well, those oil services jobs that were in Lafayette, Louisiana, when I was there in 15, 16, 17, left, and they ain't coming back. Oil industry is doing really well over the last 5 to 8 years, but at that point in time, they were not doing well, and they're not coming back. And so the Cajuns, who were regularly drawing 24, 25, 26,000 under Mark Hudspeth, right, are back to drawing 18,000, right? This team was going for a Sun Belt championship and a division crown, and the the attendance was going the wrong way. They brought in like South Alabama and Troy, and they went the wrong way. So at App State, they pack them in. We'll see. Cajuns are building a new stadium. To me, anything less than 150,000 would be disappointing, but that's next year. All right. Like I said, I'm going off on a tangent. We will talk about Tony Gibson and all the bowl games in tomorrow's episode. We'll get to basketball. Arkansas State had a big win against Memphis. Cajuns lose to La Tech. Cajuns are with one win. It's going to quickly go from football season, and they don't play for 3 weeks or so, to basketball season very quickly for Brian Maggard and the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns, because Bob Marlin has his hands full. It is not pretty. They do not have anybody who can score on that basketball team, or at least more than one guy. Yeesh. All right. Again, congratulations to Charles Huff and the Marshall Thundering Herd. Well-deserved Sun Belt Championship, winning 3 straight games on the road, 7-game winning streak. Outstanding stuff, and just a fascinating coaching search for Southern Miss, Marshall, and then App State in the back door with Dowell Loggains. We will try and get all of the new coaches on Locked On Sunbelt because I'm interested in meeting 2 of them and catching up with Coach Huff as well. All right. Once again, over 1,700 subscribers. Thank you so much. And you can just see, even when we don't put episodes out on the weekends, just people are checking us up, checking up on us. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Have a great week, everybody. And we will talk to you again on Tuesday. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day.